Hi guys, as we discussed before, Texans Pro Bowl running back Joe Mixon will in fact not be ready for the start of the regular season, and he will miss the first 4 games of the season at least on the reserve non-football injury list. So the team will shift him from the active non-football injury to reserve. And all that means in terms of the roster machinations is that he cannot play or practice for the first month of the season. And so let's go through it again, kind of how the Texans got from him making progress to where he is now. So let's back up to the offseason. Non-football injury by definition, guys, just in case there's any confusion. It means that he did not do it preparing to play football or practicing football or working out with the team. Away from the facility means away from the facility. So that is the definition of a non-football injury. So things happen, and I was told out of respect for Joe, they're not going to, people I've asked have not, elaborated on whatever happened. All that matters, though, is the bottom line. Hurt is hurt. So he was in a walking boot. He was seen at the airport. I confirmed that was in fact true. He was in a walking boot. Then he went to a lace-up brace. He wore that lace-up brace, as you guys could see, at his youth football camp that he held at the Methodist Indoor Training Center. And then he rehabbed. He made some progress over the summer, but he also sought some outside help from a podiatrist. And he got electromagnetic therapy. That's the specialty of that podiatrist. So that's what they do to break up scar tissue. I'm told it is not structural, meaning he did not break his ankle or foot. Last year he had, of course, the high ankle sprains from those illegal hip drop tackles that he suffered against the Chicago Bears, where TJ Edwards was fined but not penalized. And so Joe has been quite outspoken about the lack of enforcement of that. But where it leaves the Texans, the backstory not really as important as the outcome. Outcome is, even though he made progress and got better, he wasn't able to practice. He's been training away, for a long time, and he's been working out with the team in terms of behind the scenes, but not at practice, not at the games. And he's been cheering all the guys on social media, all that stuff. And he's very helpful. Nick Chubb told us that, Joe's been very helpful to him and trying to let him learn the offense, learn his way around, all of those things. That's all fine and well and good. But the bottom line is, Nick Chubb is the Texans starting running back, former Pro Bowl running back for the Cleveland Browns, and he'll be backstopped by Dameon Pierce, Dario Ogunbowale, and Woody Marks. So the Texans offense, which, it would be a little bit far-fetched, right, for him to miss the entire offseason, the entire training camp, all the preseason games, and all of a sudden here at the last minute, get ready for the Rams. That's why I've been reporting, because I adapt my stories to what I hear, the latest information. So when I got new information, I reported it. At the start of the camp, there was a little more optimism about him. And, of course, it's all been a lack of clarity because the team doesn't like to discuss injuries. They don't have to discuss injuries. They didn't have to make the announcement they did today. Credit to them. That was cool that they did acknowledge that tomorrow that he will go to this reserve list, and they will provide further information, as they said, when appropriate, at the right time. So I'm sure Nick Caserio will, deal with some questions on that. He is scheduled for a press conference on Wednesday, which is after the roster cuts, and probably somewhat in the same time frame as the practice squad that they'll form. So they will, go forward with that. And I'm going to take a quick break here, guys, to tweet some non-Texans news, and then we'll resume this video. Thank you. All right, guys. Yeah. Well, Kansas City Chiefs roster move that I reported. Hal Presley, per league source, being released. Texans did not make any roster moves, by the way, on Monday. Nothing processed. Everything will be on Tuesday. The Joe Mixon move is not on the official NFL personnel notice, wire, transaction list, whatever you want to call it. That will be processed on Tuesday. And so the Texans then will have a lot of moves to get down to the 37. We're going to do some other injury updates within this and talk about the roster, but let's stay focused on Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb and kind of how they go forward. So we had a Zoom with D'Amico Ryans today, and they, during this Zoom, the Texans DeMeco Ryans, the coach of the Texans, gave a very detailed and effusive update on Nick Chubb. Lots of praise. I'll go through it a little bit. He said Chubb, from the first day, seen him continue to grow and get better. Saw him get into football shape. Saw him look better and better every week, especially once they put the pads on. And he said, it's like, wow, this is the Chubb I remember. Physical downhill player, pop and run, still has explosion and speed it takes to make plays. In this league, he understands football, a smart player, a playmaker. When you need him to make plays, he'll make those plays. Keep, quote, churning out yards. He says he's very impressed with Chubb, and he's impressed with the stuff he does in the weight room, his routine. Called him a true pro. So DeMeco Ryans, probably, obviously with the knowledge that they're not going to activate Joe, wanted to talk some about Nick Chubb and talk up Nick Chubb. So that was interesting to hear with Chubb, with DeMeco, and of course, Chubb had a broken foot last year, and it was 1 year removed from the bad knee injury he had where he tore his medial collateral ligament and damaged his ACL. So this is now Joe 2 years removed from those injuries, rather the knee injury, but 1 year removed from the foot injury. And so I have seen progress from him. I think that, at the beginning of camp, no, it didn't look great. He didn't look that explosive. He wasn't really busting through the holes all that fast. I think he was also getting his confidence back and just kind of getting back the muscle memory, getting back to being in the kind of shape that he's in now. And, he set a bunch of personal records in the weight room, but still, football and playing football are different than lifting weights and preparing to play football. So all good things, all positive. And now you see with Chubb, and you saw Dameon Pierce get back out there. And so they have Pierce, who's a power runner with some ability to bust a long run. Dario Gomwale, who had a very good game against the Minnesota Vikings when he started. And then rookie Woody Marks, good pass catcher, and he had a touchdown run against the Lions. So I would say it's running back by committee with one guy as the main runner, but other runners are going to be involved in this. And I think they will be probably more of a passing team, whether they say it or not. They're going to probably have to do it. They're going to have to throw the football a lot. So those are some of the developments that are happening with, the whole Joe Mixon thing. So without Joe Mixon, are they really the same? No, I think they're not, but that doesn't mean that these guys can't move the football. The offensive line looks pretty physical to me. I think that they have, made some strides, and I look at it overall and I think, okay, maybe they can run the ball. Maybe they can be a downhill team. Maybe play action can be respected. I know they're going to have lots of motion. They're going to do a lot of things to try to move the football without Joe Mixon. But remember, I understand this is the finality of it, and I'm not spinning it, but I'm just being honest here. Who out there, please drop it in the comments, who thought Joe Mixon was playing in the opener based on him not playing in the preseason? Well, there's nobody. No one really thought that. You could hope for it, but it was unlikely from the beginning. And there was some optimism at the start of camp, and so we passed that on. But yeah, whether it's from, Joe, who hasn't spoken, or the Texans, this is the most clarity that they've provided on his status. So there is finality. It's not a positive development at all, but it is the truth. And that's what journalism is. It's truth. Truth-telling. And passing on the information and also updating when things change. So the story, I've been saying, and you guys have seen me say, that this wasn't looking good. And so we've definitely updated and keep updating, and appreciate Seth Payne's shout out on his channel. Seth has a great channel, by the way, too. So do Landry Locker, Cody Stutes, a lot of good channels. There's Big Sarge's channel. There's a lot of people doing this on YouTube and fans. So yeah, please check them all out. I'm not the only channel. I appreciate the growth of the channel, and I'm very grateful for all the support. But yeah, lots of channels. So I just always like to tell you guys that and make sure that that's emphasized. Okay, so roster cut downs. That's the next thing, and they're gonna have to get a bunch of moves done tomorrow. So kind of looking at, we know the depth chart. We're gonna see, is it Jakob Johnson and or British Brooks, or is it one or the other? We've discussed that a little bit. I do have a couple of injury updates. I want to share these now. I've tweeted a few of these, and I want to reiterate them. So Austin Brinkman has an oblique injury. I reported this before the Lions game, that he was expected back. So Blake Ferguson, I know he was bouncing those snaps. That wasn't good. But the good news, and D'Amico Ryans reinforced this, that Brinkman should be fine. Okay, so that's a positive update for the rookie long snapper, and they can expect to have him out there for the Rams game. Trent Brown, I'm told, is very close to activation. We'll see. He's supposed to be ready, and we'll see if they do it. If they follow through on that, on the momentum that big Trent Brown is building as a potential swing tackle. As you guys know, Blake Fisher has a mild ankle sprain, and we'll see if they choose to carry him into the regular season. I think there's a chance that they have C.J. Gardner-Johnson begin the season that way. I'm getting a little bit more information on Jalen Reed. He's out of the brace. He's running again. So some hope for Jalen Reed. We'll see. Do they have him active? Wouldn't surprise me now based on things I heard today if Jalen Reed is active and ready for the season, which would throw some wrinkles into the safety depth chart, which also includes M.J. Stewart, Jalen Mills, and Rush East. So how do they go forward with that? Obviously, Miles Bryant can also play safety. But I can tell you this, before Jalen Reed got hurt, he was playing great football, pick sixes, very physical football player, hard-nosed, Penn State guy, likes to be in the action, very hard worker. You know, definitely an arrow was going up until he had the knee injury. And so it was a mild knee sprain. It was only supposed to be about a 3-week injury. So the hope is that he can get back out there. And like I said, you know, we didn't say he definitely would be on his reserve, so he could be. And now it's sounding like he's got a chance to be ready. So that's good news. I'm told that Denico Autry is also healthy. He's had a knee injury. He's missed a bunch of time. Whether they have him active or they don't, we're about to find out. I don't know what they're going to do on Autry. Tank Dell will be on a reserve list. And so Tank, obviously, you know, big injury to come back from. And so that's, I think, all my health updates on the Texans. Like I said, they've had no roster cuts. So we'll go through some of the potential cuts again. And then, of course, they'll have, if they clear waivers, they can go to the practice squad. Oh, before I do that, let me tell you about a workout. Jared Wayne worked out for the Texans. He's supposed to be back from the hamstring injury that was why he got cut. And so he's a potential practice squad candidate. Kadar Holman also worked out for the Texans, corner, so we'll see if he gets signed. And then they looked at a defensive tackle, Phildarian Mathis, so he tried out. But the other ones were visits, so we'll see if they sign with the Texans for their practice squad. You know, only so many guys can be on the practice squad, so there's limits, but those would be pretty good practice squad players. So where we're at now, we're looking at between Irv Smith Jr., Harrison Bryant, same thing, whether they're going to go with one of those guys. Quarterback, Graham Mertz, will he make 53 or will they cut him and have him go to the practice squad? It's coming off a very big game. So they have a decision to make. Jahar Jordan is the bottom of the depth chart at running back. Can't keep all of these running backs. Could be tough. Luke Lachey, another tight end, bottom of the depth chart. And Connor McDermott, Zach Thomas, Joanne Winfrey, Quintez Cephas, Cornell Powell, and Daniel Jackson. And you've got, you know, potentially Justin Watson. That's a tougher call. I've been asked a couple times about Nick Neiman and Jamal Hill and Jake Hansen. One thing I can tell you is the contract was designed for Neiman to be here. There is $4 million guaranteed, $1.5 million signing bonus that they already paid, $1.5 million base salary this year, fully guaranteed, and $1 million of the $2 million next year. So if you cut him, you're eating all of that money. Now, they've done it before, and they'll do it again probably if they feel like they have to, that they would move on from a player that they have an investment in. But they do have an investment in him. I can tell you this, they have an investment in Tremont Smith, and you know that I think is going to be a factor as they make these decisions. So Jake Hansen, Jamal Hill, Nick Neiman, we're probably talking about one spot. I don't think they can keep all these linebackers. We'll see how they go forward with it. One guy that D'Amico Ryans was very positive about when I asked about it was Tommy Togiai. I called him Mr. Consistent. I'd be very surprised if Togiai is not a part of it. In fact, I would say I expect him to be a part of the rotation behind Mario Edwards Jr., Foley Fatukasi, Sheldon Rankins, and Tim Settle Jr. So I expect him to be in the mix. So, yes, it might not work out depth chart-wise for, say, Casey Toohill, maybe even Solomon Byrd. They have Dylan Horton. The Autry thing could complicate a lot with the defensive line. So we'll see how they go forward with Autry. And same thing, Junior Tafuna, the Jackson Woodards, KCSI, local guy, Joseph Asai's brother, from the Conroe area. So we'll see how they go forward. But you'll see a lot of these guys on the practice squad. And so we're talking about the offensive line. Eli Cox, the center. I think Austin Deculus had a very impressive Detroit game. Maybe they could keep Deculus as a backup tackle. We'll see. All of this will hinge on, is Trent Brown active? If he's active, how will they go forward? Or is he going to miss more time? But I'm told he is healthy, and I've seen him moving around. He looks healthy. So I believe that, and we'll see how they go forward with Mr. Trent Brown. 6'8", 380 from Bastrop, the Cowboy. One of the biggest guys you'll ever see on a horse. Go check out his Instagram. Some great photos of that with him. One guy I think's played well, I don't know if there's going to be a spot for him on the active, is Rush East. I think Rush East has had a good camp, had a good preseason. Didn't make mistakes. He was, had some real clean games. Didn't make a lot of big plays. Jalen Mills had an interception. MJ Stewart didn't make a lot of big plays, made some good tackles, but not a lot of big plays. So, you've got this deep defensive line rotation, and we've talked about that before. Will Anderson Jr., Darrell Taylor, and Daniil Hunter. They're three top defensive ends. Derek Barnett. So they have a lot of depth at defensive end. And, they're just trying to do everything they can to keep these guys. Haven't heard about trades. A lot of people ask me about that. Haven't heard about the Texans contemplating trade. Wouldn't shock me because Nick Caserio is always open for business. And so we're always open for business because we're going to continue to track all of this. It'll be very busy from the morning until the roster deadline as the Texans work to get down to the NFL roster limit of 53 players. Then the next day, form the practice squad content. There will be a Nick Caserio press conference. And later, there's the premiere night that the Texans have, which is for charity for the Texans Charitable Foundation. Great event for a great cause. So they'll have that. And then we'll have some days off. And then it'll be game week. They'll play the Los Angeles Rams. Of course, I'll be there at SoFi Stadium and look forward to giving you guys lots of coverage between now and kickoff. And there'll be some features coming that I'm working on. So look forward to getting those published. And obviously, I've been keeping an eye out for news. I'll just kind of explain my process a little bit and kind of what is it like for a reporter. First thing is news. You got to stay on top of that. Second thing is doing some good storytelling, writing some features. So try to do it all. And of course, videos here. Guys, thanks for supporting, watching, liking, and subscribing to the channel. Appreciate all the new people and the people that were there from the beginning that gave me a chance. So thanks for being there. And it is, for anyone out there that's unaware, it is free of charge. So is everything at www.click2houston.com and at KPRC2 on television with Randy McElvoy. Had a lot of fun talking ball with Randy and Jonathan Alexander, great beat reporter for the Houston Chronicle. So we had a great conversation on Sunday about some things that have now kind of come to fruition. Talking a little bit about Joe Mixon. So that's where things stand. Joe Mixon, at least 4 weeks. And we'll see if it winds up being longer. Guys, until next time, appreciate the conversation. Thanks for tuning in.